Cutting Through the Matrix. And just before the break, I was mentioning that you, the listeners, keep me going. Go into the website, cuttingthroughthematrix.com, and you'll see ways which you can help me out. You can donate through PayPal or personal check within the US and Canada, or purchase that which I have for sale on the website, the books and so on. And overseas, you can use Western Union, MoneyGram, and some people just send the cash to cut out the guy with the triple chins. And that always gets through. So it's up to you to keep me going. I'm not funded by any big corporation. I'm not selling any particular items in commerce. And I'm not backed, as I say, by any foundations. I'm certainly not out for a career. We're going through the greatest changes that ever happened on this planet. And if you looked at all the changes we've had, this shock therapy, shock and awe. We have first heard that, remember, from Rumsfeld in about 2001. And then again, when he came into Iraq, he used the term again, shock and awe, your enemy. Well, you're seeing shock and awe used across the whole planet now to bring in an agenda that's very old. It was on the go and discussed, at least in put out in format form, for the League of Nations at the end of World War I, to bring in a global society, a planned society, where people will literally live in a collectivist fashion and serve their masters. Those who are eugenically superior, intellectually superior, according to themselves at least, and they'll run the world the way it's supposed to be run. That's as simple as that. But meanwhile, being human, you see, they must convince the humans, the people, I should say, don't call us humans at the bottom, that we're the problem. And they do it through education, through fictional work, novels, and movies. Lots of science fiction movies out there of scary scenarios. And every year they have their main meetings for the United Nations. The United Nations is the front organization to bring in this whole global greening, blah, blah, blah agenda. Everything, in fact, goes through the United Nations. That's what it was set up to do. And every leader of every country that signed the agreement in 1946, I think it was, in San Francisco, onto the United Nations, sold out their countries right there, that we haven't had nations since then. Except when they want you to go to war, then they wave the flags to finish off the process of standardizing the world. Then it's okay, but then you're back to globalization again as soon as it's over. Shock and awe, shock and awe. Now, the Copenhagen Agreement is part of the United Nations again to further this world government with all financial sectors dealing directly with the International Monetary Fund, a private organization, mind you. International Monetary Fund has destroyed more countries you can ever imagine, especially the third world, through massive loans with massive interest rates and all that kind of, knowing they could never pay it back. It's a weapon, it's a tool, but it was set up to be the manager of all the finances of the entire planet. That was its function, and John Maynard Keynes talked about it. Part 1, he said, and Part 2. Part 2 will come after he's dead. He said that. About 50 years down the road, well, here we are 50 years down the road, and after the Bretton Woods Agreement, and bingo, it just happens like clockwork, because it's an agenda, it's a plan. And these guys, like any long-range business plans, stick to their dates and their timing. 2001 was to kick it all off. And we've been shock and awed almost to death, and yet they're only warming up now. Now, I've read before, when each time this Copenhagen meeting for the environment comes along, they admit themselves after the event that they try and terrify the public of the world with the most scary scenarios. That's what their own the words use, scary scenarios. And here they are again at it because there's one coming up. So we're seeing all over the media massive, scary scenarios, and the Royal Society is even in on the act now. They're a Masonic scientific organization that runs the world sciences, basically. That's how they were founded and given a royal charter to exist. I've gone through their beginnings before. Here's an article here. It's from the Guardian, from the Observer, and it says, Countdown to Copenhagen. Now remember, they admit they use terror on the public. And the title, the headlines here is, UN plans shock therapy for world leaders on environment. Now that's rubbish, because you see all the world leaders are Fabians and they're all in on the act. They were picked to be the leaders, not by the public. And they're all only too willing to go along. That is their agenda. This is on the public, the terror. Pared down summit will force heads of rich states, as we're all broke, right, to listen to those of third world in hope of kickstarting